guys, it's Barbie with two friends and a Bible. Today is Monday, August 22nd. Oh, today would have been my dad's birthday. He passed away in March of 2019, so he would have been 80 years old. He was born in 42. So happy birthday, Dad. He's dancing with the angels. My dad was a paraplegic when he passed away. He had some medical issues that caused some paralysis, and he was paralyzed for, I don't know, I guess about 12 years before his death. And so he was in a wheelchair. So we always say he's dancing with the angels now. So again, today is the 22nd of August, and this is our update. I'm going to be doing some news update that I heard about in the last few days. We are getting ready to put our video up about the mark of the beast and the gematria and how it pertains to each other, or how we believe it pertains to each other. And I've gotten it written, and we sat down yesterday to try to record it, and no internet, just couldn't get the internet to work. I don't know what was going on. And it said it was attached. It said everything. We shut down. We did everything. Could not get it to work. And we were having some power issues over here in my neighborhood. I mean, our power was going out for like 7, 10, 17 hours, at a time. And so Georgia Power came out, and they are taking down trees and different things to get it away from the power lines. So it rained Friday, and it's been raining today, and we still have power. So we're very excited about that and hoping that's going to help. But then my internet started having problems. So, and we were going to do the video tonight, but I think we're going to do it tomorrow night and I upload it Wednesday. I'm not feeling so good today. I just started, I do chemo pills, and I do them for 3 weeks on, a week off. And I just got off my week off, and this is my third day back on. And I forgot to go get my B12 shot last week. I try to get them bi-weekly, and I can tell big time I'm super, super tired today. So once I get done with this, I'm going to go snuggle with my Sally Rose, and we are going to just relax. But tomorrow night we will get it up, and I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, so let's get started a little bit on some of the news that I'm finding out about. I'm going to show you this picture. And this is off of Nelson Walters' video. And I'm going to give you some information, but if you want to get deeper information, you can go to this video. He's really good. I like Nelson Walters. So the EU, European Union Parliament building in Strasbourg, have modeled their office after the Tower of Babel. And their office states that many times one voice. The EU Parliament spokesperson said they knew what the Tower of Babel was and what it means and what it represents. So when they built this, they knew exactly what it is. And they understand that it represents an open defiance of God's authority and return to open government. And this is exactly what Nimrod did. Now, if you don't know who Nimrod was, I'm going to read you who he was, and you can go to Genesis 11:4 if you want to see some information. And there is more information in other scripture. I'm just going to read this particular one in just a second, but you can go to Genesis 11:4 and see what what the Tower of Babel was about. Nimrod, he was the son of Canaan. And so if you hear about the Canaanites in the Old Testament, he was the son of actual Canaan, who was the actual grandson of Ham, and Ham was the son of Noah. Okay, so that kind of gives you a little idea that this did happen after the Noah's Ark situation, but they lived a long time, so it was a little ways off. But even though God had left the 7 righteous people on the earth after the ark, it still went crazy again. Uh, and one of the instructions that God gave Noah and his sons was to spread across the earth and multiply. He did not want them staying in one place. He wanted them to spread across the earth. He didn't want them staying in one place because he didn't want them to become a powerful government. And then Nimrod comes along, and I believe he was born kind of just like a regular person, but somewhere along the line, he became like this giant man. So some believe that he was indwelt possibly by Satan, maybe a form of an antichrist. We don't know, but he was a very bad man. He wanted to be in charge of everything. He wanted everyone bowing down to him, sacrificed babies, idolatry, just a really, really nasty man. So he wanted to build this Tower of Babel, and he wanted it to be sorry, he wanted it to be built as high up to heaven so that if God comes down to fight, they'll be closer to heaven and they can basically whoop up on God. That was their plan. And so basically what he did, it represents open defiant to God's authority and becoming their own government and completely defying God. Well, that's what the EU wants to do. They want to become their own government. So this picture that it's on here that says 2200 BC, 2202 BC, that is a Renaissance picture of what just kind of giving an idea of what maybe the tower might have looked like. And as you can see, the EU's tower looks very similar, how they structured it. And they actually used this in order to model their building. Okay. So basically, they're trying to attempt to do what Nimrod's government attempted to do and failed. They're trying to do a one world government where everyone answers to them and people are dependent on them, which is exactly what Nimrod wanted to do. He wanted a one world government. He went in, he conquered, several different areas. And this Tower of Babel was in Babylon. Which is definitely not a good country. And so that's where this was, but he did have other cities that he conquered, and they actually were a part of this as well. And he did not want people scattering across the earth. He wanted everyone under his control and under a one world government, one world government, and answering to him and being dependent on him. He wanted the same stuff. He didn't want people buying, being able to own their own properties or anything. He wanted everyone to be able to answer to him. And then he would divvy out what he felt like people were allowed to have. Okay, so sound familiar? Genesis 11:4 says, and they said, come, let us build us a city and a tower whose top reaches into the sky, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the whole earth. So that's what they were doing. They were not wanting to be scattered over the earth, even though they clearly knew that God said spread across the earth. And this happened about 3,500 years ago. It was a long time. So when the EU was founded and when they actually opened the building, I believe it was in like 2020, somewhere around that time frame, they gave out this poster of a copy of this Renaissance painting of the Tower of Babel, showing where they had used it as a construction for theirs as well. And this happened in December 2020, which was the same time that China and the pandemic started. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that would be presented and opened at the same time the pandemic started. Okay. And then we're also going to go to Genesis 10, 8 through 12. And this just kind of gives you a little bit of information. I might have told you some of it already, but Cush became the father of Nimrod. He was the first to be a mighty man on the earth. He was very strong, very powerful, very big guy. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, and I might say these names wrong, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar, which is in Babylonia. And then out of the land, Nimrod went forth into Assyria, which is now Syria, and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, and Calah. And then also Racin, which is between Nineveh and Calais. All these were suburbs combined to form this great city. So, yeah, so basically what I told you, and that's just your scripture reference. And I'm going to take that off and sorry about that. My stay-at-home child, Sally Rose, decided that she wanted to go chew on something and it didn't sound right. So I had to go and figure out what she was doing. My little girl. Here is another picture that you'll see in that. This is the actual poster that they presented. Europe, many tongues, one voice that we were talking about. This is the poster that they actually presented. Now, if you look at those stars, those are put in there, they're introverted so that they're upside down. As you can see, the stars are upside down. And these right here, these stars upside down like this is a symbol of Satanism, symbol of Satan himself. Okay, so not a good sign at all, but this is the poster that they put out when they were getting ready to open the EU. Okay, so just so you guys have an idea of what that's all about, they're trying to basically go and do the same thing that Nimrod was not able to fulfill because God stopped it. And the day they presented this is the day that the pandemic came out. So I don't know. Interesting, huh? And they're also, one of the things Nimrod also, he wanted to change the government into a tyranny so that everyone was constantly dependent on him. And that's exactly what the EU is wanting to do, total dependence on the government, basically known as the Great Reset. And, a lot of your MSNs will tell you to go with this. If this is a great thing, basically telling you not to rely on God and rely on the one world government. So that's what you're getting when you watch MSN and you watch those things. You're getting that kind of information. And this is not okay. This is not okay. Our country was founded on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And if we are turning our backs and supporting this, which the US is supporting this, why would we think that God is going to keep smiling down on us? He's not. He's not. He didn't smile down on the Tower of Babel. He's not going to smile down on us. Okay, so, and it looks like it's the EU, the UN, and America that is working together to get this done. All right, so then I'm going to go and read another verse. 1 second, let me get to it. Yeah, and if you go to Revelation 17:18, it does say, and the woman that you saw is herself, the great city which dominates and controls the rulers and the leaders of the earth. Harlot. If you have not watched our video on the harlot, we explain exactly who the harlot is. Basically, the harlot is the government, one world order. And the harlot actually started back during this time when God punished Nimrod and his people that were building this tower. He separated them and moved them all over the world. He did what he had told them to do. and he moved them all over the world. Well, he did not punish them, and God typically will do that. He will punish, and he did not punish them at that time. He just separated them. Okay. But when they separated, they brought all this Babylonian ideas with them and separated them all over the world. So during the end times, the beast, which is the Antichrist, will destroy the harlot. He's going to have 10 kings reigning with him, but he is going to destroy the harlot, and the harlot is the government. It's the not, it's all governments. Okay, so that's what he's going to do. Okay, so that's just, some information for you, and I will take this off. And yeah, I would listen to that video if you can. Okay, so interesting is we're going to talk about droughts and how bad droughts are right now. Let's get some information. Right now, 50% of the U.S. is in some sort of drought. North and South Africa, Central and South America, Europe, U.S. West and New England, Bangladesh and West India, North China are all in droughts right now. North China, now the northern part of China is having massive rain, but the south part is in a heat wave and a drought. Okay, and and statistically, these droughts, like when you have something like this happen, it happens maybe every 10 years. And honestly, it's never happened to the extreme it's happening right now. But when you've had multiple areas, that is a lot of our produce and farmland and different things having these droughts like this, it happens about once every 10 years. It used to be that way. But now it seems to be happening about every 2 years. It's happening a lot more. And, it's destroying our crops. And so, and again, it's happening about every 2 years. And our society can handle droughts, but not when they happen in all these different regions at the same time. This is just going to add to more famine. Okay, because, it's a lot. Okay, and so now we're going to skip on. We're going to go to Iran. And we all know that Iran has enough uranium to make like 3 to 5 bombs now. Okay, and we also know that Iran and Europe and the United States have been in talks with the nuclear deal. Number 44 put us in a nuclear deal in 2014, 2015, and then number 45 took us out of that deal. And number 6 ran on one of his campaign promises was he was going to go back in the Iran deal. Personally, I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible because, all that money they get, they're just feeding the Hezbollah and the Houthis and the Islamic Jihad and Yemen, and putting it, I don't even think they're putting it towards their nuke deals. You want to know the truth? Because if they needed that, they wouldn't have enough nukes right now, enough stuff to do nukes right now. So I don't even think they're putting it towards that. But one thing I know they're not putting it towards their people. This has nothing to do with their people. It has to do with total 100% power and their hatred for Israel and the United States. Okay, so now if you look at Israel, on the north side of Israel, you have Lebanon and Syria. On the east side, you have Iraq and Iran. And on the south, you have Gaza and Yemen. Okay. So that's who basically is surrounding them. And then you have the jihad, you have Pakistan and all that, that's also against them. Well, the head of the Iran Revolutionary Guards has stated that once they give Palestine in Gaza enough weapons to become a threat or a proxy of Iran, so they're just trying to get another terrorist group, basically. It is. And and that right now, that's what they're doing. They're arming the Palestinians and getting them turned into a high-powered country of missiles to go against Israel. Okay, so they're trying to get them under them, and they're also doing this in Judea and Samaria. Okay, so they're also doing that there as well. So they're providing them with all these weapons. And so you've got Hezbollah and the Iranian militia that's in Syria. They have over 150,000 rockets. Gaza, which has Hamas, has 10,000. Yemen has tens of thousands. Iran and its militia has hundreds of thousands. And what they're planning to do is once they get it all set up, they're planning to take all these missiles and just bomb Israel all at the same time. Okay. Now we know that Iran has the Iron Dome. And the Iron Dome, I don't know if you've ever watched a video how it works. I mean, it's pretty cool. But one of the things Amir was explaining was that every time one of these countries shoot a missile at them, it costs them like $200, $300, $400 to shoot that missile. But every time they have to bring up the Iron Dome, it costs them $100,000. So, you know, a few weeks ago, you had the Breaking Dawn little crisis thing that went on, conflict in Gaza, which had the Palestinian Islamic Jihad with Israel, and they were fighting back and forth because Israel found out that they were planning on taking out their trains and civilians and all right there in the Gaza Strip. So Israel went first, and then they ultimately attacked Yemen as well. And the Islamic Jihad actually shot like 1,100 missiles into Israel. Well, the Iron Dome got rid of most of them. I mean, their success rate on the Iron Dome is like 95%. And then the other ones just landed in places like the desert, you know, places that didn't matter. Not one Israeli was hurt. However, every time they shot one of those missiles down, it was $100,000. So you see how expensive that is? I mean, that's crazy. But then if you've got all these countries coming together and they're going to attack them at once, there's no way, I don't think, that they could possibly get all those. And even if they did, the cost is astronomical. So one of the things that he was talking about today is short range, the Iron Dome can get the short range missiles that just go a short range, but they can't get the long range ones like the ballistic missiles. They're not as likely to get those. Those are a lot harder to get, and they actually fly higher and they're faster and whatnot. So they have actually come up with something now. It's like a laser, and the laser can actually shoot up and shoot these rockets out of the sky. But in addition, they're actually going to put a plane and have it in the sky, you know, just monitoring 24/7. There's going to be a plane overhead for indefinitely until when, 24/7. And they're going to have the laser capability as well. The difference from it coming from a plane, though, versus coming from the ground is the plane can shoot it out that way, straight ahead, versus coming from the ground. So they're actually going to have that up there all the time. And from what he said, is it's much, much, much cheaper. It really doesn't cost anything to shoot these planes up in the air. I mean, these lasers up in the air. So I thought that was pretty cool. They come up with some good stuff. I mean, that's just, yeah, they do. Okay, so now I know we talked about the Gog-Magog war before, and I know a lot of people, when they hear something like that, they're automatically thinking, wait a minute, is this the Gog-Magog war? No, it is not. If they do indeed do that, and all these countries come together and attack Israel, it is not the Gog-Magog war. Because the Gog-Magog war is going to be Russia, Syria, Turkey, and Iran coming down after Israel. And most likely with nukes. That's kind of my guess. It's going to be nukes, but God's going to put a hook in their jaw and pull them back, and he's not going to allow them to do that. But it is going to involve Russia. Russia is Magog. And whoever the president is at the time that they do that is Gog. Right now it's Putin. Putin is Gog and Russia is Magog. Okay, and then they're going to have their allies help them, which is another interesting thing because Iran and Russia were not allies up until now. Kind of interesting, huh? Okay, so anyway, that's what they're going to be doing. Now, it is not the Gog Magog war, but when you are studying end times, there's another prophecy that a lot of us don't talk about. And it's in Psalm 83. Okay, and I'm actually going to read the whole chapter. It's just 18 verses, but I'm going to read it to you real quick. And I'm going to start with verse 1. Keep not silence, O God. Hold not your peace, or be still, O God. For behold, your enemies are in tumult, and those who hate you have raised their heads. You can also see this in Acts 4, 25 and 26. You want to do a cross reference. They lay crazy schemes against your people, and we all know that Israel, the Jews, are God's people. They lay crafty schemes against your people and consult together against your hidden and precious ones. They have said, come and let us wipe them out as a nation. Let the name of Israel be in remembrance no more. And that's Iran's goal, is to wipe Israel off the map. They hate them. And so we're going into verse 5. For they have consulted together with one accord and one heart. Against you, they make a covenant. The tents of Edom and Ishmaelites, of Moab and Hagrites. Now, a lot of that area come from, in the Bible, it was called Edom and Ishmaelites. You know, the Arabs or Ishmaelites. Those all come from that area, you know, from the Old Testament of the Bible, who hated Israel back then as well, but they didn't have nukes and stuff like they do now. Okay, now we're going into verse 7. Jabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assyria has also joined with them, Assyria being Syria. They have helped the children of Lot, which are the Ammonites and the Moabites, and have been an arm to them. Pause and calmly think of that. Do to them as you did to the Midianites, as to Sisera and Jabin at the brook of Kishon. You can find out about that in Judges 4, 12 through 24. Who perished at Endor, who became like manure for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeb. Yes, all their princesses as Zebah and Zalmunai. You can find what happened here in Judges 7, 23 to 25 and 8, 10 through 21. Now we're in verse 12. Who say, let us take possessions for ourselves of the pastures of God. Oh my God, make them like whirling dust, like stubble or chaff before the wind. As fire consumes the forest and as the flame sets the mountains ablaze. So pursue and afflict them with your tempest and terrify them with your tornado or hurricane. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek, inquire for, and incessantly require your name, O Lord. Let them put to shame and be dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name alone is the Lord, are the most high over all the earth. So this is a prophecy about exactly what this is talking about. All those countries we named about, talked about in there, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Assyrians, all that's these places. Okay, they've just got different names now. You know, like Iran used to be Persia in the Bible, and it changed its name like in the 1930s or something. So that is the Psalm 83 prophecy. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that and see what's going to go on. I'm curious. I'm worried. I think even Amir's worried. You know, he's a Messianic Jew that lives in Galilee, in Israel. And I think he's concerned. And he's asked for everyone to please pray for Israel, because you have these guys wanting to do this big Psalm 83 prophecy, but then you also got the Gog and Magog that's trying to set up with Russia and all that. So Israel's, they know they're going to be okay, but prayer is definitely needed. If one or more come together, God will be there. And so we definitely need to keep them in our prayers. Okay. All right. So like we said, now Russia is now an ally of Iran. Europe right now is desperately in need of oil and energy. And the reason is because of the conflict going on in Russia and Ukraine. And, we're coming up on the winter. And so they're concerned they're not going to have enough to keep everyone warm. They've talked about actually opening up shelters for people to come to because they are freezing, because, it gets cold over there. And so they're highly concerned. So because of that, Europe is definitely wanting to sign this Iran nuclear deal with Iran, and they're willing to accept Iran as a nuclear country and not to include the Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. That was one of the things that we were asking for, is that we wanted to keep them listed as a terror group. And now Europe has said, whatever, we need oil and energy so bad, we'll give you whatever you want. So they're not going to list them as terrorist group. That's what it's looking like. And it looks like they're going to sign the deal. Well, looks like America's going to do the same thing. All the signs are there that they're going to sign for it. Okay, so not good. Not good. This deal is even worse than the one that was put together and under number 44. It's even worse. So yeah, it's definitely not good. So obviously keep that part in your prayers too. Okay, so then in Russia, Saturday night, right outside of the Moscow area, there was a girl. Okay, there's a man named Andrea something. I can't remember, and Andrea or something, and his last name is Dugini, Dugina. He is Putin's right-hand man and the brain of his operations. Basically, he is the brain behind a lot of what Putin's been doing. So let me find this. On Saturday night, Mr. Georgina and his daughter, Dara, Darya, Dugina, had gone to like a festival or something together. And they were leaving. And when they left, the daughter, Dara, and the father, Mr. Dugini, got in her car. And of course, he's a pretty powerful man. So they had their security detail and stuff with them in their cars. And for whatever reason, Mr. Dugini got in the car for a couple minutes, and then he gets out and he goes in and gets into another car. And about the time he did that, his daughter's car just exploded. I mean, boom, big bomb, killed her instantly. And of course, her dad saw it, and he was there and witnessed it. And, he's right-hand man to Putin. So Putin, he's pretty upset, and I can understand. And he's really upset with like the West, which would be us, and a couple other places, because as of this morning, they had not condoned this attack. And so he's pretty ticked, and he's already threatened to nuke us. And as we've discussed before, those ballistic missiles, you can tie a nuke on it and send it to the east coast of America, and it will reach. So just because they're over there does not mean that we're immune to that. Okay, so anyway, the girl, she was killed. And I mean, I hate that happened. Two different stories going on right now as to why this happened. I don't think they know yet, but I do know they know who it is, and I'm going to read that in a second. But I don't think that they The daughter, Dara, she was very political figure and ran off her dad's shirt tails, basically. So she was very political and not very liked over there much. And then you also have her father, that's Putin's right-hand man. And so he is given orders to attack Ukraine and all this, and all the children in Ukraine, all these children in Ukraine are getting killed. So did the Ukrainians send someone over to kill him and accidentally got her, basically, or on purpose got her, basically saying, you kill our children, I kill yours? Was it that? Or was it because of her political stance? I don't think they've said yet which one it is, but they did come out with this earlier. And they've investigated, and this is what they've come up with so far. Ukrainian intelligence agencies are behind this murder. So they are saying Ukraine's done it. The perpetrator is a Ukrainian citizen named Natala Vok, V-O-V-K, who was born in 1979. So I guess that makes her 42, 43. She arrived in Russia on July 23rd with her daughter, Sophia Shaban. They rented an apartment in the house where Dugini lived in Moscow. A Mini Cooper was used to follow Dugini. They changed license plates on it 3 times. They used license plates of the DPR, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. On the day of the crime, Vok and her daughter came to the Tradition Festival, which is where the Duginis were at. And after the remote control detonation on August 21st, they left for Estonia via Pskov, Pskov. The materials of this investigation have been transferred to the investigative committee. Okay, so by this information, of course, you don't always know if it's propaganda or if it's real or whatever, but if this is real, and by this investigation, it does sound like this lady, Natala Vok, is the one that probably, most likely, and her daughter set this up. I mean, it's a lot of coincidences. She's living in an apartment in the Dugini's place. She was at the same festival. She came to Russia on July 23rd. So with that said, it's looking like probably the Ukrainian people were behind it somehow, some way. I guess we'll find out, as details emerge, and Russia is also saying that the major military operation in Estonia does not, if it does not extradite Natala Vok, then there's going to be military action against Estonia, because she fled to Estonia and they're saying, bring her back. We want her back. And if they don't bring her back, then that's what they're going to have military action against them. Kind of can understand. I don't know. Sad. Okay, so back to the China-Taiwan thing. China had just yesterday 5 warships and 15 fighter jets from China that had entered into Taiwan space. And China told the UN they intend to attack Taiwan. So I don't know if they're doing this kind of maneuver stuff, the ships and the planes going in to just intimidate Taiwan, just to try to scare them. Or are they doing it because they're getting prepared to do the real thing? In other words, they keep going in, oops, psych, we're not really doing it. And then they come back out, oops, psych, we're not really doing it. And they do this a whole bunch. And then, oh, guess what? You thought I was going to psych you again. Bam. So which is it? I don't know. I'm not sure if it's that or if it's China just being stupid. I don't know. We'll find out. Keep your eye on that one too. Everybody's fighting, right? Okay, we talked about earthquakes in my last video, and I had read off how many earthquakes were happening. I think we're getting like 150 an hour or something across the world. And It's a lot because we've never had that many. Well, there was a 6.2 earthquake in Indonesia today. And we talked about that last week that we were going to, that I felt like, we have those vaults everywhere, the lines for earthquakes everywhere. And a lot of times they just never have activated. They're there, but they've just never activated. And it's like they're activating in places that they don't tend to activate as much. And like in South Carolina, a 700% increase in earthquakes over the last year. So it's like these lines are waking up, and during the end times there is going to be a very big earthquake. Okay, so just another thing, and again, do not fear, Jesus is here. Okay, so Iran is still threatening to assassinate U.S. government officials such as number 45 John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, and the reason is for them killing Solomon, Solomon. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about, the dude they killed back in 2020. He was, I think he was head of their nukes and stuff over there, and they took him out with a drone. This is 45 did that. So they're still wanting to come after them. And someone asked, they said, well, wait a second. You're wanting them to agree to to this nuke deal, but you're still telling them you're going to take out some of their public officials, their government officials. And Iran's response was, hey, it's two different things. These are two different things. We're taking them out for killing Soleimani, but we still want the nuke deal. Anyway, now the Republicans have gone in and they are stating that any deal that the U.S. makes with Iran, nuke deal, is if they take over the House and keep the Senate and all that this coming November, they will remove the deal. They're going to get rid of it. So majority of them said it. Okay, so we'll see how that happens. Okay, so there's a prime minister, and the reason that I'm talking about this is because we've spoken before about how many prime ministers have actually resigned, like in Sri Lanka and Japan and the UK and Estonia and different places. Well, in Pakistan, their prime minister, they actually voted him out 4 months ago. So again, we got a prime minister issue, but they just charged him with terrorism laws, violating their terrorism laws. So that was kind of interesting because it's another prime minister issue, like government officials being removed. So I don't know, is that setting up room to put in the 10 kings for the Antichrist? Or is it because some of these people that are saying number 45 is going to be back in office at the end of the year, 1st of January, and that God's out there working on getting rid of all the deep state? We did. 8 of the rhinos that voted to impeach number 45 in the first and second impeachment lost their primary. And I think there's 2 more. I can't remember if they're going up for a primary or not, but 8 out of 10 have lost their primary. So is that what's happening? Is God cleaning house like they're saying, or is this setting up room for the 10 kings? Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Read today that Dr. Fauci originally has said he was going to retire. Now he says that he is stepping down, and he's going to be doing this in December. So he's quitting. He's just resigning from his post. Okay, so I know we've talked about this in some of our videos before, and I can't remember which one it was, but we talked about solar storms. Basically, the sun releases like spots, solar spots. They're just like big chunks that come off the sun. Well, experts now are saying that we are going to have a giant solar-sized G5 that is going to be coming to the earth, and it will be catastrophic. And it's going to be catastrophic. It's going to take out our electronics like cell phones, computers. It's going to cause power grids that is going to black out the country, the world, if not collapse it completely. And if that does happen, based off the size of this, it could take a decade to repair planet Earth. And of course, a decade's 10 years. The last time that something like this happened was in 1859, called the Carrington event. And of course, back then they didn't have electronics like they do now, but they did have the post office, and it took out everything that the post office could do. So you can imagine what it would do now, because our cars, our computers, our cell phones, everything is ran off of energy and whatnot. So yeah, they're saying it's going to happen. They did not give a time frame, but they did say like cars and airplanes and things like that would not work. We're basically going to go back to the 1800s riding horses again until however long it takes them. And it can take them up to 10 years to fix it if this does indeed happen, which it will. It's going to happen eventually. I mean, if you look at, and there's another YouTube video that we did called The Seven Seals, Seven Trumpets, and Seven Bowls. If you look at the fourth bowl, and the bowls are going to happen around the time of the War of Armageddon and the wrath of God, when Jesus actually comes back for the second coming. That's when the bowls are going to happen. Okay. And the bowls are going to end whatever's left, because they're pretty bad. I mean, the seals are bad, but it gets worse, and the bowls are incredibly bad. But the fourth bowl says this: in the fourth bowl, the solar scorches humans with fire while they curse God. Nonetheless, they don't repent and give God glory. You find this in Revelation 16:8. Only a small fraction of the humans who curse God repent and give God glory throughout the fourth bowl. The fury of God is shown here as it is poured out on the sun, which was created with the moon on the fourth day. The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. That's Genesis 1:16. As a tool of death, the sun will become an instrument of light and life. So God originally put the sun there to light us during the day, and the moon and the stars was to light us at night. But the sun now is going to be used to scorch people in that fourth bowl. And again, that's getting very close to the end of the tribulation, right before Jesus comes back for the War of Armageddon, which is the wrath of God, and when he comes back and defeats Satan and the false prophet and the Antichrist and anyone that's taken the mark. And so, because, if you've taken the mark, you will not enter the gates of heaven. Okay, that is the ultimate one sin that will not be forgiven. God will forgive us of all our sins, but rejecting him is not one. And that's what you do when you take the mark. So I thought that was interesting that, and I've been reading about these solar things for quite a while, and for them to actually start saying stuff now is quite interesting, kind of like the aliens. They've been saying since the 1940, right? I think the first sighting was like 1947, 48. And that's, of course, when Israel became a nation. Oh, they were seeing aliens, and all these years the government has said, no, 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 no. Now all of a sudden they're putting out videos and letting us know that there's aliens, which, as I've stated a million times before, they're demons. Okay. In Revelation 12, see if I can find it. Can't remember. I'm not real good at remembering. I know it's there, but I'm not the best at remembering. Okay. All right. So what's going to happen is you've got Satan and Michael are going to be in heaven fighting. And this is in Revelation 12:7. And Michael's going to win. And because, Satan, when he deceived Adam and Eve, he was technically cast from heaven, but he can still go back and forth. But during this time, he is going to be cast to the earth with a third of his demons forever. until his death, until he is put into the pit, and then ultimately the lake of fire. So he is going to be cast out indefinitely. So during these end times, another reason it's going to get so bad is because you're going to have Satan living on the earth. You think it's getting bad now and he's only here part-time? Now it's going to be him full-time with his little minions, his demons with him. Okay, so it's going to get that much worse. Okay, so if you read Revelation 12, chapter 12, verse 7, it says, then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels went forth to battle with the dragon is Satan, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they were defeated. And there was no room found for them in heaven any longer. And the huge dragon was cast down and out, that age-old serpent who was called the devil and Satan, he who is the seducer or deceiver of all humanity the world over. He was forced out and down to the earth, and his angels were flung out along with him. So it didn't say a third, it said his angels. So I was thinking it was a third, but it says his angels. And you can see some cross references for this in Genesis 3:1, 3:14, 3:15, and Zechariah 3:1. So you can see where he is going to be cast out to the earth, and it's going to get ugly. And what's interesting is when I was looking up all this and getting all this ready and reading about the fourth bowl and all that, I looked up at the clock and it was 12:12. And, the next video we're going to be doing is on gematria, and that's also seeing numbers. And I see numbers a lot. I mean, a lot, constant, all day, everywhere I go, different numbers. But 12:12, when I looked at the clock, it was 12:12. And 12:12, and 12 is God's governmental authority. And that's what it means, God's governmental authority. I thought it was interesting that I would see the double because it's saying it double times, 12:12. And then God's governmental authority, and I'm reading about the wrath, part of the wrath, the fourth bowl, which is when God's governmental authority is going to come over and take over the earth and bring us back to where we were supposed to be in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth with our immortal bodies where we can walk with him one-on-one, and there is no more sin. And that's what's going to happen at the end. So when people tell you, people talk about being scared and stuff. I'm like, no, man. I mean, if you've got Christ in your heart and you're going to be going to heaven, or if we are raptured and we end up living here in the millennial, which is 1,000-year reign on earth with Jesus, after that 1,000-year reign, then God is going to make a new heaven and a new earth with no sin and nothing. It's just going to be paradise, just like it was with Adam and Eve. And that's where we're going to be going, with no sin. But this time there'll be no Satan, because he will be destroyed before that happens. So it's an exciting time, I mean, exciting. So one more thing I want to talk about, and then I think we'll be done. I was listening to someone who read an article, and it was called Nation Aflame. Now, I don't know where he actually got the article. He was reading it, but it was interesting. One of the things that it was saying is that, the MSN makes its money by making us angry. Okay, their job is to make us angry and to fight against each other. And they have quite succeeded. I don't know how old everyone is on this who's watching the videos and stuff, but if you're like my age, we used to see the local news and they would tell us, oh, the president went to blah, blah, and it's going to be 75 degrees tomorrow. And, and that was, it was when the cable news started that everything in the news just got so ugly. Personally, I don't watch it. I watch my videos and get my information. And quite frankly, I get more information by doing this than I do if I would have watched that, because all they do is fight amongst each other. It's constant anger. Where does anger come from? Anger comes from Satan. Okay. Anger it's not a good thing. Anger, it's hostile. It's hurting. It's hurtful. And that's what they do. They just promote anger and fighting amongst each other. And, so that was one of the things that the article was saying, and I agree with that. It brought it up, but one of the verses that was brought up as well was Psalm 4:4. And it says, be angry or stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own hearts upon your beds and be silent. Sorry for the things you say in your hearts. Pause and calmly think of that. So, in other words, it's not that you can't get angry because, I mean, if you got people out there molesting children, doing things like that, that's going to make us angry. Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. But but we can't hold on to it. We have to let it go. And when that happens, you go to the word and see what God would say and you pray and you just, he will end this nightmare crap that we have to deal with on the earth one day. It is going to happen. We just got to wait and look up and focus. But anger can destroy you and anger can hurt you and it can make you sick. Okay. So, but when you do get angry, you need to go to the Lord with it. Okay. And he can help you with it. You don't want to sin about it. Okay. When you have animosity like that, you're giving yourself to Satan and you're allowing him to make you sick, to make you stressed. I mean, what does stress and animosity and anger and all that cause? It causes high blood pressure. It can cause cancer. I mean, there's so many things that it can cause. So, and then there's one other one I want to look at. It's Psalm 1 through 2. Blessed, happy, fortunate, prosperous, and inviolable is the man who walks and lives not in the counsel of the ungodly, following their advice, their plans, and purposes, nor stands submissive and inactive in the path where sinners walk, nor sits down to relax and rest, where the scornful and the mockers gather. So, what do you think that means? Blessed a person who will be happy, fortunate, prosperous, and inviolable is the man who walks and lives not in the counsel of the ungodly, following their advice, their plans, and their purposes. So, what happens when you watch news or you watch certain shows or certain movies or listen to certain music? It gets in what you see and hear with your eyes and your ears goes straight in and into your soul. Okay. And that is what turns us into angry type people. The more, you need to make sure when we listen to things that are not of God, and we let those things get into our soul, that makes us who we are. Okay, so that's what that's saying. But it's saying you're going to be blessed and happy for if you are the man who walks and lives not in the counsel of the ungodly. That also means you need to be careful who you talk to and who you hang out with. Jesus clearly says, love the sinners, hate the sin. But when you hang around with that, then you're going to get that, you're going to become that person. Okay. It's very easy to walk away from God and go to Satan. Okay. It's very easy. So you got to be really careful. All right. And so just think about that when you choose what TV program you're going to watch, what music you're going to listen to, what book you're going to read. Think about all of that. Okay. Because that is going to go in your soul and it's going to make you the person that you are. It's going to give you a false sense. It's going to I don't know. I guess if you're reading like a big romance novel, and this just exaggerate, I mean, just an example. And of course, in those books, the men are always like Fabio, big old muscular, rich men, and they sweep the women off their feet and they take these women and bless, just give them everything they want, protect them and do all these things. Well, that's not the way the real world really works. And when you read that, it puts a false thought in your mind. And when your husband's spouse doesn't do the things that this guy's doing in the book, you start looking at him like he's supposed to be that person, and that's not how it works. And that's the same thing with TV programs and anything. You've got to be really, really, really careful. Personally, me, I very seldom watch TV anymore. And if I do, I usually pull up something on Roku or something and or my Fire Stick, and I watch a lot of like 80s shows, and I'm careful which ones of those I watch, in 50s and 60s. And I listen to Christian music. Occasionally, I'll listen to some regular music, but mostly it's Christian music. I'm very careful what I put in my mind and my head now, because there was a time when I did all that, watched all the crazy shows and, sex and drugs and killing and murder and all that, and was drinking and getting angry and just all those things, and then I ended up sick. So, we gotta ask ourselves, is that what happened? I don't know. Okay, so one last one. I lied. Oh, did I lie? I don't think you're supposed to lie either, but I just did. One more. Proverbs 29:8. They gave some really good scripture references today when I was doing my study. Proverbs 29:8. Scoffers set a city afire, inflaming the minds of the people, but wise men turn away from wrath. Okay, so when we scoffers, or it can be just people that are negative Nancy's, basically, people that are constantly criticizing someone or cutting that person down. They're stupid, they're dumb, they don't know what they're talking about. There's a way of disagreeing, learning to agree to disagree. There's a way of doing that without being ugly. These are, regardless if we're on different sides, we're all still God's children. And the most important thing right now is bringing people to Christ, not bullying them. Okay. And he says that scoffers set a city afire, inflaming the minds of the people, but wise men turn away from wrath. Okay, so let's be wise. We want to bring people to Christ. So let's be wise and not bully people. And that means when you're driving down the road and you got some person driving not good, you don't hang out your window and call them every name in the book and hang a bird and then go to church on Sunday, because that person, very well, first off, you don't know what they're going through. Okay. Second off, that you could be the one person that plants a seed somehow by not overreacting and being kind. And that person wants to know, that opens a person's mind up. Wow, I just swerved and knocked them off the road and they didn't curse me out. What kind of person is this? And then, you don't know what's going on in their life. And I saw someone one time walking around with the little Christian fish, or driving around with the Christian fish on their car. And this is back when I worked in Atlanta. And someone pulled, went in front of him or whatever. And of course, he starts honking his horn and, raising his hands at him and yelling at him and cursing them. And I'm like, oh, got a nice Christian fish on the back. Well, some people will say, see, that's why I don't go to church, because that's how Christians act. No, Christians are still humans. And we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to get angry, and we're going to do things that we should not do. But based off these scriptures I just read, you read those and you're in the scripture, God reminds you how he wants you to act, and you might act different if it happens again. Now, when I saw that happen, I actually put one of those fishes on the back of my car, because I knew if somebody tried to run me off the road or pull it out in front of me, didn't use their blinker, I was going to remember that fish was on the back of my car and I was going to be nicer. So it changed how I acted in traffic. But some people, I guess, just forgot they had it on there. So I hope this has been some good information. Wasn't not a whole lot. Well, there's a lot going on, but we need to pray. I mean, we seriously need to pray. We need to pray for souls. We need to pray for people. We need to pray for people to come to Christ because I do believe he's coming. And I'm not going to date set. And I know there's some prophets out there say it's going to be 100, 200 years away. I don't think so. Prophecy is being fulfilled faster and more than it has ever been fulfilled in history. Okay. So, yeah, I do think it's going to happen. I do. I think it's going to happen sooner than we really believe it will. And I personally am looking forward to it. Standing in God's glory and meeting Jesus and telling him thank you and feeling their love 24/7, no sin, no anger, no tears, no nothing. It's just gonna be so cool. Okay. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you guys today. Remember, look up, just keep watching. Don't fear. You got Christ, you're good. Don't fear. Start telling your friends about it. If you're unsure how to talk about it, send them to my videos. Send me an email, twofriendsinthebible@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to try to help you. I'm still learning myself, but I'll be happy to try. Okay. And that's it for me. And Maranatha. And if you guys don't remember, that is Greek for come Lord Jesus. We say Maranatha when we end our videos now. So all right, guys, I will see you back probably Thursday, maybe Friday with some more news update. Flora and I will be putting up our next video for the Mark of the Beast in Gematria, which I think you're going to find real interesting. Tomorrow night, I think we're going to record it, and then we'll put it up on Wednesday. All right, if y'all got questions, let me know. Leave a comment. And if you don't mind, give me a like check. Make me feel like I'm loved. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.